Hello, everyone, and welcome to the KeenGamer podcast. I'm your host, Marco Callahan, and we got a fun episode for you today. Joining us, as always, the lovely Jessica Orr. Jessica, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks, Mark. Happy to have you back.
Ah, just okay. Womp womp. Huh. Also joining us, the sultry smooth Noah Rosenthal. Noah, how you doing?
I'm living a good life here, Mark. How are you doing?
Negative, in a good way. I'll explain a bit later. And rounding out our crew, the lovely Daniel Boyd. Daniel, how are you?
I'm grand, Mark. Good to be back.
Awesome. I am joining us back. I want to thank Jessica for taking over the podcast. I was COVID positive, but now I'm negative. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo, woo. We got a jam-packed episode besides having 4 people on the podcast. We're going to talk about Amy Henning helming a Star Wars game. Very excited about that. We got a Crazy Taxi reboot, which might be a little crazy, but we'll explain that. And ads in PlayStation and Microsoft games. I don't know why I did, question, but I thought it would be good. And to celebrate me being negative, we are going to be a little negative Nancy's, talking about the games that just were so hyped, but it kind of disappointed us. Now, I want to start, before we jump in the games we played, I finally made a correlation. I'm a little scared, you guys. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, my aunt sadly passed. Jessica, you did a great job taking over that episode. What was the news? One of my hype things, PlayStation Plus tiers. What really wanted to talk about that, but of course had to go out of town for the services. Guess what? Last week, Bugsnax DLC finally drops. Love Bugsnax if you know me. Guess what? COVID positive. If they announce like Super Mario Sunshine 2, what is going to happen to my life that I'm going to miss this podcast? I'm a little scared. Like, it's either going to be like I got in an accident or I'm dead.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those premonition things where you make it happen because you're so scared.
It's like Final Destination.
Oh, no.
It's Final Destination. Like, any accident follows. Like, it's not that I escape death. It's something great happens in the gaming news.
Watch out if you're excited for anything in the upcoming months. Watch out when the quarry drops.
It's a metaphor for the dangers of pop culture, I think. It's like a Black Mirror episode. There's underlying sort of tones there and nuances, I think, yeah.
I'm gonna be under like all my loved ones and myself are just gonna be locked down when like the PlayStation State of Play. It's like Spider-Man coming at you in November. We ramped up production. Well, it's like, oh, guess what? We're dead.
Mark's like, lock the door, don't go outside.
This is it, people. Let's move to the bomb shelter.
My first thought now, if they do announce like backwards compatibility for PlayStation or something, I'm going to have to be like, can we check on Mark because something's good happened. So
yeah,
that means
everyone is all excited.
The scales of the universe is like Mark's gubbed.
Everyone's gonna be excited, but you guys will be like, "Oh my god, please, Mark, please be okay, please, please let his grandma live."
Oh god, Mark.
That's what I'm gonna say when, like, guess what? PlayStation 5 Deluxe.
You're gonna be bringing up your grandmother then? Like, are you okay?
Jija, you okay? You still remember me?
I'm sorry for this unfortunate correlation, Mark.
Yeah, and of course, everything works in 3, so fingers crossed. But anyway, let's go on to the games that we're playing. And this was going to be like one of the games I'm disappointed in, but I'm playing Werewolf, the Apocalypse Earthblood. So the last time I was on this podcast, we were talking about games that, like, I think vampire zombie games, and I'm like, it's like Sci-Fi, like, what's the deal? Why are there no werewolf games?
Mm-hmm.
And then I played this game, and I'm like, that's why. It was a really bad game.
Is this the VR one?
No, if there was a VR werewolf game, I would still be stuck in the Oculus.
I was thinking of doing the one where you have to see who the werewolf is, like they're the bad
Oh,
guy.
like the werewolf mafia game,
Yeah.
or as you Gen Zers know, Among Us.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
is mafia also Among Us? Oh, never thought about it like that.
a good opinion piece. Feature
Claiming
idea.
it right now in the group chat. But anyway, so I was saying, like, man, like when this game came out and I looked at it, I'm like, okay, that's gonna be like a PlayStation game of the month kind of thing. And then I saw it like it was in PlayStation Now. I'm sick in quarantine, and I don't want to say this was worse than COVID. However, I had Dayquil for my remedy for COVID. I don't know about Werewolf. Okay, I'm trashing a little too hard. I'm being a little too mean.
Yeah, what is it actually? What's it actually about? What type of game is it?
So I think it's based on like a role-playing game, a la like D&D. And I will say, like, I'm a lot more interested in playing that game than this game, because it just throws in the story, like you're part of this tribe of werewolves and you're taking down this like industry, and it's a self game, but it's not really. And it's a little hypersensitive, and I like it's like they try to emphasize stealth, but like when it goes like up in flames, it's like, all right, be a werewolf, and it's a little like janky. And I'm like, this could have been so cool. But now I'm on the podcast feeling like a jerk saying, like, this is like COVID.
Is it like third person then? You go ripping through the place as the werewolf?
It's third person, like you're human, you're a wolf, and then you're a werewolf. So when you're a wolf, you're basically like moving faster, but you can't open doors and do like computers and stuff. Do
Okay.
computers, like Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? What was the last good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game? Claiming that in the group chat. Opinion piece done. Anyway, I'm just getting distracted. And then Werewolf, of course, you just beast out and you kill all the guards, and I can't complain too much because it is basically free.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
yeah, I played it.
No, yeah.
PlayStation. Okay, I played for like PlayStation Now, but
Yeah.
it felt like if this was released at the end of like PlayStation 3, I feel like it would receive better, like a C+, a B. But this came out like end of PlayStation 4, beginning of PlayStation 5. So,
Not Marco Callahan recommended.
it was not a howling good time. Other than werewolf hunts, I rather take a silver bullet.
Oh, wow.
Jeez, there's a werewolf with an eye patch. I'm seeing. He looks interesting.
Oh.
Just this
Yeah,
werewolf
that's
with
what I'm
a
like.
eye patch. That's
I have no clue about that character. I played like a couple of levels, and I'm like, I'm trying, but I'm like, just threw my hands up. I'm like, I'm done.
The eye patch isn't worth it. You're like, whatever.
What happened? I don't know. So, oh well.
At this point, you
Again,
game to
I'm
start
like-
off the show.
I'm like, I'm not gonna be too mean, and I just compared it to COVID, and I'm like, you know what I'd rather do? Take a silver bullet.
yeah.
So I need my relaxing tea. Just 3, 2, 1. We're gonna be okay. All right. So moving on from my negative Nancy self, Jessica, you've been playing Genshin Impact. How's that going?
A lot better than your werewolf game, by the sounds of it.
Okay, we're going positive. Woo.
We're working our way up.
Yeah.
So I played Genshin Impact about 6 months ago. And just got distracted by other games, as is the way. But quite liked it. It's a Chinese developed game that has all the stylings of a JRPG, just in case anybody doesn't know what this huge game is. Basically like a JRPG live service game. So you've got like a full story going on. It's not finished. It won't be finished for a very long time. You're kind of blocked off by things by adventure rank, which is, you know, what you've been doing, how you've been leveling up. You do like commissions, you get it by playing the story. It does have like a gacha element, which it's for wishes. You wish for characters, but it's actually not a horrible system for that. You get like, if you make a certain amount, you get like a guaranteed like 4-star whatever character or weapon. I haven't spent any money on it. In total, including what I played on it before, I've put about 25, 30 hours into it. And even if I did eventually spend money, like, I think that's totally worth it to have a really fun playing game that you can play co-op in. There's just so many elements. It's very Breath of the Wild, like, obviously not on that tier, but it's got that Phoenix Immortal Rising, Breath of the Wild, like, exploration, same sort of art style as well. I'm running it on my mobile. I'm playing on the Backbone, and it looks gorgeous. Like, yeah, it drains my mobile, but it's really cool just sitting in bed playing a massive, like, JRPG styled game. Like I said, I haven't fell into the trappings of trying to get new characters and all, but at the moment, playing like 30 hours, I haven't felt like I've needed to. I used all the free currency. And it is probably the best live service type game I've ever played. Like Fortnite's fun, but there's no story. It's just like whatever you want to play as, like Master Chief or Captain America. Like, that's cool. This is just a really awesome game. This just happens to be a live service game, and I look forward to dedicating my life to it. It's been really fun.
Is it like, so you're dedicating your life? It's like the Watch in Game of Thrones.
Yes, I'll sacrifice everything else just to play Genshin Impact.
I make references that people know, not obscure 80s pop culture references.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, how you doing? Where's my skateboard?
I don't know if any of you ever played Genshin Impact. No.
Too anime for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it is a pretty anime game. But like I said, if you liked Phoenix Immortals Rising or Zelda Breath of the Wild, it's free. It's a very big update file though for it. It took me a real long time to download it on my mobile again. And it has a weird cross save, so PC and mobile are cross save, but PlayStation's not. So I can't just pick it up on my PlayStation, which is kind of annoying because I started on mobile and I don't really PC game. But it is cross play, so you can play with anybody on any platform. And can't wait for it. There's going to be a Switch version, which just seems like a perfect type console for this game. And I hope it's cross save with mobile, because that would save my battery on my iPhone quite a bit. But yeah, awesome. Genshin Impact. I'm not sure I have anything else. Oh, sorry. One thing, just to continue the theme of disappointing things. There's like a Navi type creature in it who's like your instruction, whatever. She's called Paimon. She's so annoying. Like the highest pitched voice you've ever encountered. I'm like, please just go away. Go away. I will pay to get rid of Paimon. She's so that's annoying.
That's pretty low because you talk to me every week, so it must be bad.
It's awful.
Oof.
Yeah. That's it from Genshin Impact for me. Screw Paimon, but I like the game.
All right. So it's funny that I spoke of bomb shelters because Noah, you've been playing Fallout 4. Come on, that was a good transition.
It was.
I did something right.
Smith.
Noah, how you liking Fallout 4? I'm assuming you played before.
Of course I have. Yeah, I decided, it's time for a more in-depth game. I just went back to some GameCube games, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to pick up an open world again. I think my brain's ready for it, and I picked Fallout 4 this time.
Nice. So, do you play with any mods?
I sure do.
What's some of your favorite mods?
I used the cheat terminal a whole lot. I have this arsenal of weapons that I always recreate. Usually what I do, which is what I'm doing this time, is I'll find a base weapon in the world. Like I refuse to just spawn things in. I insist I at least have to find the base weapon in the world. Then I'll add the mods I want and give it the legendary effect that I want using the cheat terminal plus just vanilla crafting.
Nice. I mean, I'm just myself, and I just play as Batman.
This Batman.
Yeah, they have a nightmare Batman from the Batman v Superman.
Nice.
It's in the world. Pretty awesome. So, what's some of the aspects of Fallout 4 that you want to see in future Fallout games? I know 76 wasn't received that well. Could be on some of our lists later in the episode. I don't know.
Yeah, so the big thing behind that was what I tell people about 76 is what Bethesda's doing there is they're trying to make their version of Fortnite. That was a huge game that came out around that time, and they're essentially that's what they were trying to create their version of that experience, and a lot of people enjoy it. To me, I actually never picked it up. Just seeing what I've seen about it, I was like, yeah, this is not a game for me. I like the traditional narrative-driven Bethesda games.
Yeah, hopefully they can go back on track. I mean, definitely they're doing it with Starfield, so fingers crossed.
Right. So you asked me about things I'd like to see in future Bethesda, but particularly Fallout, but really future Bethesda games. So yeah. So the building system, I guess I'd rather have it than not have it. I think they did a few things. It was very much a first attempt at it in Fallout 4. I think that a lot of like the settlements are just unnecessary because really you end up with only a select few that ever get used, because a lot of them are just hard to work with, and it ends up being too tycoonish, like with having to keep your citizens happy. That's too much. Like, let us build. Don't make us tend to the needs of NPCs. Like, really.
Talk about NPCs? How does Mama Murphy look in 2022? I would assume she's not aged great.
What was that? I couldn't quite get the last part.
Mama Murphy, the elderly woman that's in the first town. I'm imagining how she must look in 2022, because she didn't look great in 2015. So 7 years have passed. She must be looking a bit rough.
Yeah, right. So I usually, believe it or not, there is miscellaneous objectives with her that actually can lead to killing her, and I usually do that just so I don't
have to look at her. Understand?
Yeah, because the thing with her is you can't move her. Once she's in Sanctuary, it makes you keep her there, and you have to tend to her happiness. But like even if you don't want a settlement there, you still have to go back and tend to her. So yeah, so I always just use those quests to kill her off because I'm not dealing with that.
Typical man.
Yeah.
It's the gift. It's like,
yeah.
Right.
I'm curious of what you think of Fallout 4's story, Noah, because it really didn't hook me. I love Fallout 3, one of my favorite open world games. I mentioned it on the podcast, but Fallout 4 just didn't do it for me. I just didn't like this. The setting looked very similar, and the story didn't hook me. Do you like it? So
there's aspects of it I like, and things I think could have been better. It's interesting how the setup with the factions and having to kind of choose at the end is really right out of Daggerfall. It's very similar to how Daggerfall from way back when was set up, with the Underking, with Manamarco, and the Blades. So it was interesting to see that again. Yeah, and I think all of the factions have fair reasonings for their take on synths. And really what I like about the story is it's my favorite AI story. I use AI a lot for those who don't know, I'm a philosopher. So I use AI a lot in the thoughts there. When I was still in school, I would go to that a lot. Really, the paper I wrote at the end, my senior capstone, which really I use to set up what I call chain theory. It's my version of skepticism, essentially, is right out of using AI to kind of capture all the arguments and present them in a way that's a bit more modern than what thinkers like David Hume and Rene Descartes and St. Augustine did. So
wow, that's awesome.
It was a difficult thing to write, but I did it.
And I'm assuming you got an A.
I did actually got an A-. On that.
Hey.
And that's why you're on this podcast.
Yeah, because of my undergraduate college work.
That's right. Go to school, kids.
Yeah.
Anything else about chain theory or Fallout 4, Noah?
Well, I don't want to bore people with my old philosophy work. I haven't managed
I bored people with my jokes, Noah. So
yeah,
you can
it's
wake
been a
people
while
up.
since I've worked more on that. I should take that out again. I also wrote a play for those who don't know. I have a script for what I intend as a play that I just haven't looked at in a while.
Is the main character Master Chief?
No.
I'd watch that play.
It's going to be about the TV show anyway, right? Can't be any worse.
Yeah. So one more thing I'd like to see in future Bethesda games would be the companion system, which they touched upon in the last Starfield when their development log, which I covered on my YouTube channel. I like how they personalized them so much. Like they made you really, like, through these quests, you ended up really forming a connection with these characters, and it makes them memorable. Like, I could probably name every Fallout 4 companion, but every Skyrim companion, it'd take me a while. I probably could, but it would take me a while.
Totally.
Yeah.
I hope they do it with the companions, man. I'm so sick of tripping over dog meat. The amount of times that dog meat would trap you in a room and you just, oh no, it's so much swearing and throwing the controller. Like, that just brings back horrible memories.
So, Daniel, last time we were on the podcast, you talked about Arkham Asylum. Naturally, you're making through the whole trilogy. Actually, did you play Origins first?
I didn't know. Yeah, that's Origins is what it is. I like the boss fights, but it was too much effort, to be honest. I couldn't be bothered setting up I've got it somewhere in a file on my PC, and I just couldn't be bothered digging it out. So I thought, you know what, I'll just move on to City. Yeah, it's grand. It's great. It's still not the game that Asylum is, in my opinion, but it does give you more sort of movement, more freedom. You feel more like Batman, arguably. You're not as constrained by gadgets and things like that. There's more, I don't know, it's an open world game, so there's more to do. And there's more sort of opportunities for sort of just side quests and whatever. But no, it's aged well, but it still looks good. The presentation's still solid. That intro sequence is great, and the voice acting's still great. And it's nice to be able to play the different batsuits, things like that. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. It's nice just to go back to it and be back nostalgia.
I still think Arkham City is one of the best Batman stories, like, period.
It's a solid Batman story. It's probably the best. Obviously, characters in the comics have been killed over the years, but I think the spoilers, the death of the Joker in Arkham City is one of the best deaths of a comic book character that I've seen. You know, it's illustrated really well, and even though he's a psychotic villain, you still feel an emotional impact at the end. And the way that the opening shot of that painting of I think it's an old Greek painting of two brothers, one's carrying the other in his arms, mirrors the last shot when Batman carries Joker out of the rubble at the end, his body. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice sort of artistic storytelling, and it's very, because it's what's his name, Bruce Timm and
Paul Dini.
Yeah, it's got that sort of seal of approval to it as well. That, you know, comic book cred. That everything, you know, even though that they're making kind of strange decisions like to kill the Joker and stuff, and you're like, oh, is this going to work? But when you know that it's in good hands and it's been done well, then it's fine. You can really do what you want. You know, let them run with it. But, you know, it's aged well. It has. So good.
I still think the best part about that death scene is, yeah, spoilers, but it came out 2011. Sorry. So Batman has the cure in his hand, but Joker surprise attacks him and it drops. And Batman says with all sincerity, like, paraphrasing, like, yeah, as sick as you are, I was going to save you. And Joker's like, well, that's actually kind of funny. And he dies. That kind of just sums up the whole Batman-Joker relationship there.
There's quite a lot of parallels to the end of the Killing Joke as well, the comic, where the two of them are standing and Batman puts his hand on the Joker's shoulder and they're sharing a joke together and they're both laughing, and then one of the laughters, you don't actually see what happens, but one person's laughter cuts out, and the theory is that Batman snaps the Joker's neck at that moment. Aye, but it's just as you said, it just kind of sums up their relationship really, really quite well. And aye, it's still great, and it's still, as I said, the voice acting, the fact you've got Hamill and Conroy just elevates it so much right away.
It does.
You've got the two kind of OG versions, or at least the best versions, in my opinion. Yeah, it just sells it all.
Are you going trophy hunting?
Honestly, I've barely scratched the surface. I've maybe played about 2 or 3 hours of it through the week. I've been really busy doing other stuff. So I've actually not really sank proper time into it. But once I do, yeah, I might. With these old games that I've played a ton of times before, I might even have the platinum for it on PS3 or something. I don't know if I'm going to bother the second time round. I've kind of been there and done that. And I feel like that's the experience that you get. For me, you buy a game, you play it. If you enjoy it enough, you go for the trophies. And then years later, if you come back to play it, I'm not really bothered to go for the trophies again, because, as I said, you've done it before. But aye.
Awesome. Anything else about Arkham City?
No, just that. It's fun. I'm playing in the Batman Incorporated Grant Morrison Batman costume with the yellow belt, because in my opinion it's the best looking one in the game. But you do have like the Dark Knight costume, and you've got the animated costume and all the different ones. But no, Batman Incorporated with Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly's art. Yeah, that's a solid costume.
It is. All right, that has been the games that we've been playing. So let's go on to the news. First thing on our news agenda, big news that Amy Henning, former writer of the Uncharted 1 through 3. I know she worked a little bit on 4, but she left the project. But anyway, Uncharted writer. Her company, Skydance New Media, announced a collaboration with Lucas Games to develop a Star Wars game. And quote from Amy, I'm elaborating to be working with Lucasfilm Games, again, to tell interactive stories in the galaxy that I love. And Douglas Riley, from the vice president of Lucas Games, mentioned that we couldn't be more thrilled to be working with Amy. She and the Skydance New Media team have the talent and ambition to create a unique Star Wars adventure. Their vision for making narrative-driven and engaging interactive entertainment makes this collaboration very exciting. We're working hard with their team of experienced and talented developers, and we're looking forward to sharing more with Star Wars fans when the time is right. Honestly, I think this is awesome. Jessica, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, narrative-driven action-adventure game featuring an original story in the Star Wars galaxy. Number one. Yeah.
Jessica, there's
Amy
kids
Henning?
listening right now. I told Daniel we couldn't curse.
I was told PG-13, and a PG-13 movie, you're allowed one F-bomb. That's it. Right
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
We save that for a special
This is
occasion.
a special occasion.
Ah.
Amy Hennig's working on the Star Wars game again. Bleep, yeah. It's the same company that's doing that new Marvel game, that narrative-driven action-adventure Marvel game. It's Amy Hennig back with Gillian Beak, who also worked in Visceral Games, I believe they're called, the famous cancelled Star Wars game that we never got from EA. Like, I know it's not going to be like the same thing, and I love Fallen Order, but just like Amy Hennig has an incredible track history with Uncharted, Jack. Oh my god, is it Soul Reaver?
Yes. Legacy of Kain. What was it?
Thank you. Yes,
Blood
Legacy of Kain. Like, she's just made some incredible games, and by all accounts is just an awesome person within the video game landscape. I'm always excited for a new Star Wars game, always excited for narrative driven action adventure games. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Noah?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this as well. I really love narrative driven action games. And I hope I have some narrative freedom, because what I'm envisioning is Darth Cannabis.
He's back.
Yeah.
Throwback.
Legacy character from KeenGamer podcast, yes. Darth Cannabis.
420 real estate.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point. Actually, well, Darth Cannabis, yes, great point. But of having some sort of control over the story, that was a bit I really liked about KOTOR. So, and that wasn't there in Fallen Order, so that'll be really interesting.
Daniel?
I am buzzing that Star Wars 1313 is back in some form. It may not be called that, but let's not mess about that. That's what it is. I realise that I've lived a very privileged and sheltered life when I say that Star Wars 1313 being cancelled was one of the most disappointing things that's ever happened to me. And then Fallen Order was announced, and I was like, "Oh, great! We're getting a Uncharted-esque platformy, RPG elements type Star Wars game." And then it was just a Dark Souls clone, and it was like, "Oh, it's just a Dark Souls," because that was what was popular at the time. So the fact that we're actually getting, a AAA action adventure Star Wars game that will hopefully be full of actual set pieces, because Mark, you mentioned about Amy Hennig not working on Uncharted 4. So there was actually a story recently. I think Nolan North was on a podcast, and he was speaking about how they actually scrapped everything that she did and restarted it all. So she got story credit because of, obviously, the characters were created by her, co-created, and she sort of laid the foundations. But I believe the final script was like Neil Druckmann just kind of, and maybe Bruce Straley as well, just doing their own thing. And that's why Uncharted 4 had no decent set pieces. In my opinion, that's my conspiracy theory for why the best part of that game is just dangling from a truck. Games before that, you had insane plane sequences, ferry flooding sequences, train sequences, and the fourth one you get a truck. Like, okay, the mud looks good, but it's not that impressive, mate. Anyway, that's just my personal issue with Uncharted 4. But yes, the idea of an Uncharted-inspired Star Wars game by Amy Hennig, who is the person, in my opinion, behind the best Uncharted games, is endlessly exciting, and I can't wait.
Now, they mentioned it in the announcement, new original story, but is there anything from Star Wars lore that you guys would like to see besides, Darth Cannabis?
Yeah, that's expanding universe stuff right there, Darth Vader.
EU stuff.
There's a comic somewhere.
Ooh, comic.
It was. I heard a wee rumor on Twitter that something to do with set during the original trilogy, but I don't know if there's any interest in that. Just something I heard. Conjecture. It could be nonsense, but yeah, possibly.
I'd be interested in like KOTOR was just like, this is thousands of years before, and then they throw out all that stuff and do their own thing. I'd really like them to do this, or maybe it's something set in the High Republic, like this new era that they've been introducing in the comics and novels recently. That would be interesting. So for me, I feel like I'd want a story like Fallen Order is kind of doing that, like in between episodes type story. I'd love something just totally its own thing.
As Star Wars Eclipse, the one that what they call the Heavy Rain guys, Quantic Dream, the one that they're working on, I think that's a High Republic era, I believe. Not that they couldn't make two in the same era, but I believe that's High Republic.
Yeah, it's just that I kind of went off Quantic Dream stuff, and I couldn't get hyped over the CG trailer. I used to be able to, but this, I'm like, I'm not behind it. If it was an Amy Hennig Star Wars game, I'd be all over it.
Yeah, you would drop the only F-bomb that we have in the reserves. Just saying, if I was on last week, I would keep it PG, even though I was talking about bug snacks. Because, when I think of bug snacks, I drop the hard F.
That's the most straight thing I've ever heard anyone say. When I'm talking about bug snacks, I drop a hard F.
Bunger? F, yeah. Snack 2 Island? F, yeah.
I feel like I'm in Training Day. And I'm Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. All right. Anything else that you guys want to mention?
It's kind of nuts how many Star Wars games are in development when you count them all. It's and also non-EA games. Obviously, the EA exclusive contract is a thing in the past, but crazy amount of Star Wars games going on.
Yeah, Ubisoft's one.
We've got Quantic's one. We've got Jedi Fallen Order 2, KOTOR remake. It's nuts. Lego Star Wars just came out.
Oh, good. That's all right.
Great time to be a Star Wars fan.
And I'm looking, so at the end of May 26th, that will be the start of Star Wars Celebration. I'm not going to say for this Amy Hennig game, but I feel like we're going to get a lot more like Jedi Fallen Order 2 announcement, some more news. So and also what's the show? Obi-Wan.
Oh, that little
That's-
thing.
Yeah, that with
Small
the
indie project.
yeah with the
Okay.
with the Owen McConnor, whatever that guy's
Ewan
name.
Good
is.
Irish
McGregor.
actor. Good Irish actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Uwe McGrama. Yeah, that guy.
That is definitely a Star Wars name. That's Hugh McGregor's Star Wars name.
Obi McGuana. The thing is, we're like, Obi McGuana, but like someone from Lucasfilm's like,
Not bad.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni's a listener. Which, by the way, you can take that, Dave Filoni. Hey, it's copyright free. It's all yours.
You'll put that under his cowboy hat for later.
Yeah. Obi McGuana. And he's like, what did you do? And he's like, yeehaw. I'm assuming that's what he does. But anyway, let's stop getting crazy and let's start getting crazy taxi. I hate myself with these transitions. So if you're hurt by them, I'm more hurt. Just to let you know. So reportedly, Sega is working on rebooting Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio. But it won't just be like, oh, they're making Crazy Taxi. They want it like free to play a la Fortnite. So there's been a lot of rumors behind that. And
so I'm picturing a Crazy Taxi battle royale getting mode in my head. Just sounds insane. Sorry, I'm just laughing at that idea. It's baffling.
It's insane. It like they were saying like, oh, they mentioned NFTs, but that's just a buzzword at this point. So, yeah. Daniel, do you think this could actually work?
Honestly, I don't know, but I sincerely hope so. First of all, the news Crazy Taxi was coming back. I was like, sign me up right now. I'm bang up for this. That old game was such an integral part of growing up for me. I remember the Christmas that I got it, and taking it home to play it, and absolutely just loving every minute of the arcade nonsense that is that game. But the sort of live service free to play battle royale thing is just what? Like, are you going to have some folk playing as taxis and some folk playing as pedestrians? Like, what?
I will say they never said battle royale. They just said like the free to play format. I like to think
that has
fingers crossed. No,
at one point, at least in the office. That's been thrown out there.
Jessica, you are right, but Sega is also listening to this, and they're like, "Oh, battle royale."
I'm editing down. I totally there. Anytime the word battle royale is mentioned,
we don't say the F word, and we don't say beep beep.
We'll replace the word battle royale with F word.
As long it's the same as any of these. It's the same as any of these titles that are announced. Don't ruin it with microtransactions. That's probably what's going to happen. They're probably going to use people's nostalgia to milk them dry. But I just hope they don't this time. It would be nice just to get an actual loving revisit to this classic insane game. But unfortunately, that's probably not going to be the case. But we'll see.
Noah, are you crazy about this Crazy Taxi news?
I'm not crazy about it. Yeah, that's not the adjective I'd use.
Are you jet set on this Jet Set Radio?
I thought you were going to ask, are you taxi about it?
Are you taxi?
This is why we have you on the podcast, Daniel.
Yeah, really, my thoughts are I kind of agreed with what Dan was saying. I guess it can work. Will I take part? I don't really know.
Jessica, I ran out of puns, so
just Jessica, go.
Yeah. It's like Noah, you jet set? Daniel, you crazy? Jessica, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm honestly a bit more excited about the Jet Set Radio thing. I played it a lot more than Crazy Taxi. I do love both, but I just have more fond memories of. I played Jet Set Radio on the original Xbox. I think it came out for Dreamcast as well, or whatever Jet Set Radio came out for the original Xbox. And that huge was called the Duke. You remember that massive controller?
Yes.
with my tiny child hands trying to play Jet Set Radio, and I still loved it. It was such an awesome game. I think it lends itself more to a live service. You're on like a giant, but like teams against each other sort of thing, just with the tagging mechanism. But I would prefer them as well not to be live service games, and I like live service games. Like I always give them a go, and I will give this a go because no doubt they'll be free if they're trying to get people in on this.
Of course.
Yeah, but not too thrilled that it's 2 more live service games.
Yeah.
I will say, if they do add like the Crazy Taxi song, I'm in.
Yeah, immediate sell.
Yeah, soundtrack definitely matters.
It
Quite a lot.
does, and I feel like they could, like, how I'm envisioning like this, like, even though like I guess I don't know if it's like official or it was a mod. The Horizon, the Forza, you know, they had like the Ghostbusters car.
Oh yeah. You
Yeah.
could
Like, was that like officially like, hey, we're adding this for free?
they had the car make and model, and then people just put their custom stuff on it. I'm pretty sure.
I'm like, that's how I'm imagining like this. It's like, hey, we got the Batmobile, we got the Ghostbusters
Yeah.
car, we got.
Listen,
Good
I
point.
work for Rocket League, so
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And Sega's like Battle Royale, and
No battle royale.
I used it once.
why? But why not? Some just really persistent market executive in the corner, like, well, why not?
Why not? Battle royale NFT metaverse. Go.
You have to paraglide into a taxi at the start, like when you all jump out the plane.
Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Yeah, Sega's just like, guys, come on. And they're like, okay. NFTs, then they're like, come on. Yeah, that's the simplified version of the gaming industry. Come on.
Yeah.
Is that right, Noah? Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Man, you made my stupid sound a lot cooler, Noah. Thank God.
Can see.
I tried.
And on to our final story. Speaking of gaming industry, which 6 out of 10 for the transition. Guess what?
Or
That's
gaming
fair.
podcast.
That's fair. I'm more excited about the crazy one. That was 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
well
we
done
should
on
have
that.
we should all have scorecards for each transition that Mark makes.
Yes,
We can all
Strictly Come
go around
Dancing
like a
style.
list. Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Noah's like 4.5, and I'm like a baseball player arguing with the official, like the umpire. I'm like, oh, come on. And Noah's like, shut up. This is why, if you're watching the video once, we have 4. We have a lot more space, so get ready for hand gestures. Anyway, so both stories of Microsoft and Sony reportedly adding ads to games, and it won't be like, oh, they're adding like ads to Starfield. Although I wouldn't be that mad. Let me explain. But it's more to the free to play, and it's not like how I interpret it and how the article described it. It's more of like posters and like billboards, those kinds of ads. So Microsoft reportedly is not going to take any of the cut. Of course, none of this has been officially announced, so that can all change. Well, Sony's like, come on. A little cut. Like, come on. So keep in mind, we are ad-less for now. Although I don't have my Taco Bell hot sauce, but one of these days we will be sponsored by Taco Bell. Hashtag Mexican pizza.
Have you opened it yet?
No.
What?
I'm waiting
Mark,
for
that's
like
been months.
it expires in August. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drink
Just
it
it
on the
live
podcast.
on podcast. Drink it.
Yeah, well, if we hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll drink the whole thing.
We
Don't
already
worry.
have a voice.
We'll not see you for a month because you'll just be living in the toilet.
Wait. We have 1,000 subscribers.
On YouTube, we have over 5.
Yeah, on YouTube we do. Yeah.
Woo!
You have to drink
We
5 bottles.
Woo! We were joking pre-show of how, like, man, it's gonna be such a sweaty episode. Well, when I have 5 bottles of hot sauce, I'll be like, guys, welcome to the KeenGamer podcast. I'm your host, Sparkle Callahan. I'm trying to look in the camera, but we got such a great episode for you. Anyway, enough of this nonsense. Noah, what's your thoughts on ads in these games?
You know, for a while I've been thinking that maybe this was going to happen. Sounds like a more lax approach at first, only in free-to-play games, and it doesn't sound like they're going to be like pop up or trying to steal your information kind of ads. Or it sounds more like those videos that play in the middle of a YouTube video or when you're watching Hulu, or like you said, like posters somewhere. So I guess so long as it's not intrusive, that'd be fine. But the thing is, like the longer it goes on, the more intrusive it's going to get. Like people will start pushing for like the pop-up kind of things. So that would concern me. And there's also the element of, well, what are they advertising exactly here? Like is it something I'd want to buy? Is it my YouTube channel?
Fortnite posters on Noah's YouTube channel? Hell yeah.
I mean, that'd help me out a lot.
It was like, suddenly I'm interested in the ads.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know about this, so it could be intrusive unless it benefits me.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden one of my videos comes on.
I respect the hustle.
Yeah.
Jessica, what'd you think?
Yeah, Noah makes a good point of that. Like for now, like it's the free-to-play games that, like, it's fine. You're not going to be seeing this in God of War all of a sudden,
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, like, yeah, Travis is like, refreshing.
Knowing me, I'll be like playing as Kratos, will be like, oh, Pepsi. Throwback joke.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I actually didn't really consider all that much. I'm probably one of the people who are like, in a free-to-play game like Fortnite as an example, I really wouldn't mind not a billboard type thing. Like, I don't think anybody wants to see those types of advertisements. I wouldn't mind like in a mobile game, you watch an advert to get free currency. Like, that's totally fine with me in a free-to-play game. Like, that's not really an issue I have with mobile games. It's a great way to not spend money on them. And I can count on one hand the amount of things I've actually bought because of an advertisement. So I don't think that's too intrusive on us. But yeah, Noah's right. It's a slippery slope because like other things actually do this, which the article mentioned, like in Forza games and sports games, you already have. But it's kind of more natural because, of course, they're using this kit because it's the officially sponsored kit in this game, or the cars. Like, that's just the car make and model. Like, you want the correct car make and model. But when it comes to, I don't know, like a Liverpool shirt in Uncharted or something, like, I'm not sure like where they'd go with it, but somebody there in those places is going to push for it. And I don't think Sony would do it over Microsoft because they project this image of having like a prestige third person action adventure game, and they wouldn't want to take from that. I could totally see Microsoft like forcing the gaming division to go, no, put this in your single player games. But that's totally speculation and has not been reported in any of these articles, these rumors.
Exactly. And I agree with your Sony, but come on, it's money.
Yeah. Mark getting his best exec there. Come on.
Yeah. I'm sounding like more like a customer that I know at my full-time job. Yeah, Marky, come on. You're my friend. Yeah. Love you, Jack. Kind of. Long story. Dan, your thoughts?
When I first saw this news, the first reaction was the hardcore leftist anti-capitalist in me was like scumbags. But the more that I've sort of processed it and thought about it, I read into it, and as you guys are saying, it's the invasiveness of them that's going to really be the key. As Noah was saying, it's been in the tea leaves for a while. They've been flirting with the idea. It's been mentioned before. Obviously, as Jessica said, mobile ads are littered with adverts. It is I think the line between being a gamer, being a hardcore gamer, and being casual mobile gamer or whatever is blurring. And these companies, they're trying to spread their audience as much as they possibly can. I think, and also in certain contexts, if you're playing a Need for Speed game and you drive past a Coca-Cola signpost, a billboard, fine. That could be in the world, wherever the game's set. But if you're playing like God of War was mentioned earlier, and Kratos has got like a Supreme sticker stuck on his axe, that's the point where it's like, hold on, what are we doing? So I think the context will matter as well. But yeah, just 100% with no obviously as well about it being a slippery slope. These companies, I sound super cynical, but these companies, if you let them get away with it, they will advertise everything to you, and they will milk as much money as they possibly can from it, and that could be where this goes, unfortunately. So that's the thing to kind of watch out for, I think, and keep an eye on. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think we should have billboards in our background of the podcast. We're not even getting paid by them. I think we should just have them.
You're trying real hard to get this.
You just want to pay Taco Bell, yeah.
Yeah, we should have some Taco Bell stuff.
I'm gonna get like Taco Bell, but it's gonna be like, hey, can you you want to advertise Dave's furniture store? I'm like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. It's like,
yeah, the only podcast sponsored by Dave's furniture store.
I do also wonder,
like...
I was during the week I wrote a piece about exclusivity and the acquisition war that I feel like is definitely imminent in gaming. And back in the day, I've heard stories from a lot of developers who are quite successful now, CEOs of companies, etc. Back in the day when they didn't have two pennies to rub together and they were trying to get their game off the ground, exclusivity and deals like PS Plus deals and stuff were the only way that they could get their game funded. Rocket League's a big example of that. The success of Rocket League with PlayStation Plus. I wonder if that could be the one positive of this. There could be some struggling developer out there that's got a great idea that just isn't able to put a team together or whatever the financial issues may be, that all of a sudden, oh, hold on, if we do an advert in the game, it could lead to some great art come out of it. That's the kind of, I don't know, hypothetical positive spin on it, I guess. It could lead to something like Rocket League, a big success story that's came from nothing. I don't know.
To play devil's advocate there, it could be absolutely, but it could be like the mobile market where for every one game you get 1,000 clone trash games, But I think Sony and Microsoft would be a little bit more interested in curating that than the mobile markets would be.
Yeah, the race to the bottom has also been something that I've been thinking about for a long, long time in gaming, because mobile, obviously, you've got that in the App Store. PCs starting to come a bit like that on Steam and Epic and other stores, and I'm starting to see it creeping into PlayStation and Xbox stores as well. So, yeah, nobody wants a shovelware to sift through when they're looking for an actual decent game, do they? So, yeah.
Exactly. Anything else you guys want to add?
Don't think so. I think I think we're all good, but
yeah. Way to speak for everyone, Jess. Nah, but I think you're right. So that is the news. On to our main topic, and admittedly, we've been a little goofy, silly, but I think it's time to be a little serious. Gaming industry, we're not mad at you. We're just a little disappointed. Some of your games have been great. Some of them have been bad. But some of these games have just been... We're just disappointed. We want you to think about it.
You're giving me flashbacks to parent-teacher meetings here.
I
know. I took a lot of inspiration from them.
I feel like I'm at an intervention. I feel like we're having to sit somebody down and have a serious conversation about their issues.
Video games, are you okay?
Video games, you're not acting like yourself. You're into these battle royales. Remember the good old days of platformers and getting the key? Now
it's just a fizz.
You understand me, Dad. Come on. I can dab. I didn't say I was a good parent. I don't know. Anyway, that is our main topic. We are going to talk about the games that, we were bought into the hype. We're all excited. And then we played, and then, we were disappointed. So we're all going to give two games that, we're we're not mad. Okay, maybe some of us are mad, but we're just disappointed. Noah, what is your first game that you were disappointed in?
So my first one is going to be something you might find a bit predictable. It's Elder Scrolls Online. So this came out when I was in high school. I was a teenager. So at the time, I feel I wasn't really as fair as I would be now. But that whole taking a series that's traditionally always done a certain way and trying to make it very, very different, like it never works. It's so rare that it works out. And we all looked at Elder Scrolls Online and got excited for the chance to play Elder Scrolls with other people. But really, it's an MMO. We didn't envision what exactly that experience would be like. And we kind of theorized that it would be like playing co-op Skyrim, which nowadays would I'd like that. I'd really like to be able to play that kind of game with another person in a co-op kind of way. And I think when people heard multiplayer Elder Scrolls, that's kind of what they had envisioned. But the thing is, multiplayer and co-op mean very different things now. Back before the internet, they didn't. They were just kind of used interchangeably. But with the internet, you tend to refer to multiplayer as games with multiplayer matchmaking kind of experiences, and co-op as like a split screen kind of experience or a localized shared experience with a friend. So, and also the writing was just so different. That was the main thing where I was like, the writing quality, the voice acting quality, it's so much worse than usual Bethesda games, because it's an MMO. It's designed to be something you kind of play as a group, and they didn't really write or act the stories very well. So and they repeat, they kind of just use the same few plot lines for every city. So I just kind of was disappointed by it. There are things I liked, like I've said before. I like Nair crafting. Oh, well, not all of it, not all Nair crafting, but I really liked that their armor and weapon crafting, and how you could really make your character look different with those colors, like separating the style from the material. That's a great way to make every player actually look different.
Exactly. Again, Bethesda, we're not mad. Noah's just disappointed in you.
I was pretty disappointed too. No, I'll agree with you. It kind of exactly how I felt with Star Wars: The Old Republic Online. Just they took Skyrim, they took the Elder Scrolls, and they took Knights of the Old Republic, these awesome single player games, made them into an MMO, and it was just way less interesting because of it, in my opinion anyway. Neither of them hooked me, and you're right, not even the stuff they started to introduce later in the Elder Scrolls Online really got me in. I didn't think it was a particularly great MMO game, and I didn't think it was a particularly great Elder Scrolls game. So yeah, very disappointed in you.
The other thing I didn't mention is that leveling system was hard. It'd be one thing if you could fly through that and never have to worry about it again, like I do in usual Bethesda games. But that you end up hitting a wall the second you hit that legendary level experience. You have to grind day after day to level up and continue playing, and you're not up for it. It's just not that good a game.
Yeah, not fun to do. Yeah.
Fun. All right. Thank you, Noah. Jessica, what game were you disappointed in?
Well, this isn't a very controversial pick, but it really sucked, in my opinion. It was Resident Evil 6. And the hype for Resident Evil 6 came for me with just being a Resident Evil game. And I know 4 and 5 were really different from the survival horror roots of 1, 2, and 3. But it was I enjoyed 5 for its co-op experience. I enjoyed I'm not a personal fan of 4, but I get that it really moved the industry forward in this third person shooter genre. Resident Evil 6 has no redeeming factor that can really make it. It's not a good survival horror game. It's not a good Resident Evil game, and in my opinion, it's not a very good action game. There's a couple of fun things in it, like on Leon's campaign. I don't know about the others because I didn't enjoy it so much that I didn't play the other campaigns. You can like drop kick zombies. You're basically a professional wrestler drop kicking zombies sometimes. That's about all that I enjoyed about it. It's got really cheesy Resident Evil dialogue, which is like a staple at this point, but it just makes it all worse when you've got this over-the-top plot, again, a staple at this point, of like the city in ruins and these hordes of like World War Z zombies. Like not anything that really Resident Evil does great at. Unless it was like a co-op experience like 5, and even then it was a bit more curated, you know. I only played Leon's Complaint because I heard it was the best one. It was like sort of supposed to be the survival horror one, and Chris's was supposed to be the action one, and I guess Jake's and Sherry's was supposed to be like this like Powers type one. But it was not a survival horror game at all. I really didn't like the partner you had. Helena had some really weird dialogue going on with Leon. I haven't liked Leon since 2. It was just every single beat they could have done it really disappointing. And the most surprising thing I found of all, like I heard about this, but I researched it before this. It sold really well. It sold 10.4 million copies, and Resident Evil 5, the highest selling in the series, sold 12.8. So it really wasn't far off. Capcom could have just continued with this action generic game, but they decided to pivot to Resident Evil 7. In my opinion, one of the greatest games ever. And I'm so happy that they actually listened to people going, man, this sucked, despite the sales figures. And then Resident Evil 7 has sold, 10.6 million now in a shorter amount of time. So I really didn't like 6, but who knows if 7 would have been the game it was if 6 didn't exist. That's the only silver lining I can give to Resident Evil 6.
Well, again, not mad, just disappointed.
A little mad at this one.
You said that the only thing you enjoyed was the drop kicking. Did you not enjoy the quick time events where you punched the big boulder? I thought that was a pinnacle of gaming.
That was 5. That was 5. That was Resident. Yeah, Chris's biceps with the boulder. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that was a jump the shark moment, right? That was the point where we were like, but straight into it.
Yeah, Wesker in supervillain mode. Yeah.
All right, Daniel, what game were you disappointed in?
So I'm going to take an obvious one. It's already been mentioned. Fallout 76 is one of the biggest disappointments. And
Bethesda's taking the L here.
I mean, I was going to say we're really going hard on Bethesda, but I think it's a sort of stereotypical example for a reason. It's such a known thing across even casual gamers know that it was a disappointing piece of trash. I remember it was first announced. Not really know anything about it. Watching the E3 conference, thinking, an in-between Fallout game. I mean, the last time we got New Vegas, so this could be interesting. And then we got it, and our hopes and dreams were crushed. I wrote a review for it on an old website. I've just brought it up here, and I'm just to see if I can still. This is a few years ago. To see if I still sort of feel the same about it. And the review opens with Fallout 76 is a grotesque atrocity of modern gaming and an abhorrent insult to its audience. Wow,
that ain't disappointment. That's like you're crying in your room after that talk.
I have been playing games for the last 20 years, and I don't think I've ever seen a more egregious assault on my principles as a consumer. There is not even a game here. Wow, I'm even more brittle than I remembered. But yeah, I mean, what were they doing? It just works. No, it doesn't, Todd. No, it doesn't. I guess it was the online service thing, wasn't it? It's similar to what Noah was saying about the ESO. They wanted to turn these things into live service things, and it just didn't work. It felt so rushed. I mean, this was announced at E3, and then it dropped in like the November after. There was hardly any sort of marketing time in between. I mean, I do remember that Christmas very well, though, when all the reviews came out, and that was an interesting time to sort of follow the industry. But here's just another excerpt. If a past Fallout game is a big, meaty, juicy leg of lamb, then this is nothing but the dry bone that is left after all of the good stuff has been sucked away.
Damn, dang, Daniel.
Not
back at it with that disappointment.
Not a good time. We can talk about the microtransactions and the hollow world and the lack of actual interest in sort of NPCs, and but that's all been said. What is there left to say about Fallout 76? It is just such a disappointment. black mark on Bethesda's history, to be honest.
Saying that, I'd be interested in your extended thoughts of them, Noah, being a Bethesda superfan. Did this hook you? Because with me, I was disappointed in Elder Scrolls Online, so I haven't even tried Fallout 76.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I have to say. Back when I still wrote in the Bethesda forums, one of the more successful posts I wrote was calling the failure of 76 before it came out. Like what I said essentially was, we've been down this road before with ESO. You get hooked on the idea of multiplayer Bethesda title, and you don't, like, you kind of envision a certain thing. You envision like playing co-op with a friends. Then you're in this game with people that aren't your friends. and it's not, like, it just doesn't work out. So yeah, that's kind of like why I was kind of envisioning that this new Halo show would be bad. Like they're like trying to build a new audience with a franchise that has an existing audience just doesn't work. Like you always have to build from the base outward. Trying to just build two audiences with two different things just rarely works.
Exactly. Daniel, anything else?
Just one last quote. This thing shouldn't exist, and the fact that it does is a huge slap in the face to the consumer, and it pretty much encapsulates everything that is wrong with the mindset of modern gaming publishers. I said it all 3 years ago, apparently, or 5 years ago. How long this was, yeah.
So I do want to mention, but I don't want to imply that ESO is Bethesda's fault. That game was actually developed by ZeniMax and published by Bethesda Softworks. So yeah, but Fallout 76 is kind of Bethesda's fault.
Well, no excuse. All right, going on to my first disappointment game. I'm going to take it back to, I think it was 2012, 2013. I don't know. The E3 was happening. I was in high school, and I feel like the game that was talked about most amongst my friend group was Watch Dogs. Go back to that E3 trailer, the announcement reveal. It was amazing. It's like, oh my God, this is going to be the new franchise in Ubisoft. This is going to be awesome. And then I played it, and I'm like, it's okay.
It's a Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
Oof. And I'm like, oh, this is not what I imagined. Like, Ubisoft's like, hey, Mark, we're going to give you Oreos. Which, by the way, Oreos, if you want to sponsor us, I'm just saying.
You've got a billboard free.
I'm not buying now. You're just going to sell in. Whatever. But it's like, hey, Mark, you want some Oreos? I'm like, thanks. And I open up the package, and they're chocolate sandwich cookies, like the generic store brand. I'm like, okay, they're edible, but it's like, it's not that good. You promised me Oreos. And just playing on it, it just felt like run of the mill, nothing really unique, even with the hacking. And it just felt like by the numbers, which is why like Watch Dogs 2 and Legion, like they had to really like try to establish a new zanier, wackier identity, which I think it works. It's still like a good franchise, but it's not like anything top tier from Ubisoft. So I'm like, it's fine. I'm not mad at you, Ubisoft. I supported you. Jessica hasn't. Jessica has not. Forget the whole thing. Yeah. Me, Daniel, directions. I don't know. Maybe because you're on a different hemisphere. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely the scientific reason. Yeah.
We're a gaming podcast. We ain't a science podcast.
Mark, I totally agree. Watch Dogs was actually one of the ones I was thinking of, and in particular, Watch Dogs Legion, because it came out as the next gen consoles were coming out. It was the very first game I got for my Xbox Series X, and it's my own fault because I am not a huge fan of this Ubisoft formula. If you are, no doubt these games are awesome. One of my brothers, is a huge fan of this. He plays every Far Cry, every Assassin's Creed, every Watch Dogs. He loves it. I don't, and yet I keep buying the games thinking I'm going to like it because they're like, ooh, what's this hook with Watch Dogs Legion? You get to recruit anybody? That's so cool. but they do the Ubisoft thing where they just make it an open world game again, and it doesn't really work. And I'm like, I hate these mechanics. Why do I keep buying these games? And yeah, that's it. It's just the Ubisoft thing. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I really don't. And it's my fault for consistently buying India. And I really wish they would go more into these interesting concepts that they keep coming up with and keep just going back to the same old, by the numbers, as you say.
Yeah, and it's like, at least for like Assassin's Creed, like Origins, the one set in Egypt, like they really revamped, like still has the DNA, but they really revamped it. And I'm like, all right, this is something similar but different, a lot Witcher 3. But it's like with a new game, it felt like it's like Assassin's Creed, but modern, but hacking.
Yeah, its concept isn't
sound.
there with like Assassin's Creed. Like, I will get pulled into the odd Assassin's Creed game because of the setting, because I like Greek mythology and Egyptian stuff. And I didn't get too into Valhalla, but that was just a time thing. Like, they're cool. Watch Dogs just doesn't have that. It's like you're hacking again, only now it's in London, which was admittedly pretty cool, but didn't have the appeal of ancient Egypt.
What's kind of insane about Watch Dogs? I mean, how many years ago was Watch Dogs first announced? It was just when the PS4 was announced, 2013.
Almost going to be 10 years ago.
So we still don't have a Watch Dogs game that looks and plays like that original demo.
Yeah,
exactly.
10 years later. Do you know what I mean? That's like, they were obviously promising something they could never deliver on, because here we are a decade later and we still don't have it. That first game, I must admit, I picked up that game about a year after it dropped, or maybe 9 months, 10 months. It was on sale, and I was like, this game get kind of slagged off, but I'm going to see what it's like. And I enjoyed it, because I think I played it out with the zeitgeist. I think if you played it at the time, if you pre-ordered it especially, you were hyped for it, you were playing it in the sort of echo chamber of all the reviews and the compilations on YouTube, the disappointing, whatever, blah, 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 the commentaries, etc. Then I would have probably get sucked in by that and not enjoyed it as much. But see, playing it in a vacuum away from all that, it was a decent Ubisoft open world game. It was fine, and I feel pretty much the same about the second one. I've not played the latest one, but the first two, they're mediocre, sort of semi-futuristic, fun-ish Ubisoft open world games. That's all they are. They're not bad games, but they're not what they promised. Like that first E3 demo, unfortunately.
Exactly. All right, so going on to our number 2, or I guess number 1. I don't know. Again, you guys are in different hemispheres. I don't know. What can I say?
And once again, I never properly order mine. So
exactly. Oh, well. Noah, what is your final disappointing game?
My final disappointing game is Destiny. The first one I have not played. I think there is a Destiny 2, right? I did not pick that up because I was disappointed with the first one.
Good choice.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people went into this thinking, oh, so Bungie's leaving Halo, so this is just going to be their new game, like they're just giving us Halo Reach 2.0, but with their own IP, and that's really what it looked like for all those trailers, all the advertising for it. It looked really right out of Halo, but it wasn't. It was this borderline MMO experience with it, and it had some multiplayer. I actually did enjoy like the Slayer kind of game they had, and that was one of the first games where they stuck to very few game types because they recognized when games have a lot of game types, really only a few of them ever really get played. So I have all those extra ones. So yeah, so that was okay, but I got bored of it really quickly. And there was no Forge, like no custom games, and the story was like they gave you pretty much nothing but vague and very very baseline sci-fi fantasy kind of things, like, oh, the darkness, like, oh yeah, the darkness, oh no.
Yeah, it was very lore heavy as well.
Yeah, so yeah, I was not pleased with Destiny.
Were you disappointed that it wasn't like Halo, or was it like more of like it just feels like another MMO?
It was more like it's another like kind of MMO like game, like trying to adapt MMO kit kind of things, along with the multiplayer matchmaking, and it just didn't give you that like any sort of like the content. Like it didn't give you any content that you really wanted to revisit. All of those little quests felt so scripted and they repeated. So yeah, that it didn't work on any level really for me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really trying to think of Peter Dinklage was in that game, right?
He was
Yes.
the robot.
Originally,
And what was that? What was that meme? There's
something
one
about the
line.
moon, something about going to the moon, or what was that again?
Yes.
That guy came
something-
from the moon. That soldier came from the moon, or something along those lines. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, when I heard that, I'm like, oh, not good.
Nolan North got brought in to redo it, I believe, a couple of years.
Really?
in.
Yeah, he's like an emergency patch. Like, oh no, Peter Dinklage was awful. Let's just replace all his dialogue with Nolan North's. And
It
now
was like
Nolan
that
North
time.
does.
That time that Christopher Plummer came in and just copy and pasted over Kevin Spacey in that one movie.
Yes,
It was like that, but
yeah.
it was like that. But Peter Dinklage hadn't assaulted anyone; he was just bad.
Yeah.
I
No,
was
I would agree with you with Destiny when it began with, but much like Dan did with Watch Dogs, I played Destiny way after it released, like right before Destiny 2 was going to come out. And I played with 2 or 3 other people, and it was a great social experience. And you're right about the story. It did not hook me at all. But in my opinion, I don't think Bungie does incredible stories. I love Halo. I've never been a fan of what they do. I think they do put too much like lore in the background, which is fun for people, but that's a personal thing for me. Like I don't particularly like the Elden Ring is so lore heavy and all that you have to try and work for it. Like, you know, Halo's story takes place, all that. But I find it was a fun shooter. It's got that cool Bungie feel to it. I think it got really improved at the end of 1 and kind of had a reset in 2. Going to 2 after 1, you're like, you're just repeating all the mistakes that 1 did at the beginning. And I noped out of it because of that. But one of my other brothers is a huge fan. He's like on it every week. And it sounds like they created something that is, if you want to do all this stuff. But one thing I'm a bit miffed of, I don't know if you guys, like they just totally get rid of all the campaigns that you can do and they never bring it back again. Like their season resets, which is just odd to me that you'll never get to replay that again.
Very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone wrote that. Like, yeah, like why take away part of your game, something you profit off of? Like,
yeah, it's just strange to me. And maybe I'm not understanding it totally, but from what I've seen about it, that's exactly what happened.
Totally. So, Jessica, what's your final disappointing game?
This one might be a little bit of a hot take.
Uh-oh.
Yes, and I enjoyed this game. I did for what it was, but I'm disappointed in this game because it could have been so much better.
Don't say bug snacks. Don't say bug snacks.
I'd never say bug snacks. I guess my number one disappointing game, just as of now, recency bias, is Pokemon Legends Arceus. And I've been on the podcast talking about it. I liked the experience. I think the concept of having a semi-open world Pokemon game was cool. It has atrocious like graphical fidelity on it. It runs like crap. It has the most basic of basic story, and it's a Pokemon game, and I don't really care about the story, but man, imagine if this game had actually delivered on what we all wanted after that first reveal trailer of this totally open world Pokemon game. You get to catch, you just get to use your Pokeballs, whatever else that you get to do with to catch the Pokemon. Like that seemed really cool, and like kind of not to bring everything into comparing with Breath of the Wild, but a Breath of the Wild like experience where it's wonderful to go out and just play in the open world. To just try and catch a Pokemon, whatever Pokemon you wanted to try and fill your Pokedex. This world's so barren and it looks bad that when they introduce new areas where you go, wow, I'm in the beach area now. Wow, I'm in the snowy area now. It looks like you're playing like, I know it doesn't look like it, but it feels like when they did it on like a Nintendo DS or something. You're like, this could have been so much better, and I'm so disappointed, and I don't feel any immersion in this game at all. The Pokemon design is great. Like they're always great. They always focus on the Pokemon for good reason. I actually really like the overhauled combat system. I kind of like that you don't have to combat everything. You can catch it. You can choose. but it's not a very good open world game. And they were like, oh no, but it's not actually an open world game. It's like, well, you really kind of sold us that it was. And I believe they rushed this out. And just like, can you imagine what this would be like with a different graphical style, more time worked on it, and maybe a different like upgraded console? So that's my thoughts on Arceus. And again, like the game, just didn't love it.
Wow. I don't think that's that. Granted, I didn't play it, but I'm like, okay, I'm not offended by it. So
thanks. Noah, are you offended by it? I don't think we've actually talked about Arceus, Noah.
I still don't have it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's
Kyle
fine.
would be very offended.
well, Jessica's like, God, don't.
No, yes, it's a good game, but I really hope that whatever it may be, Scarlet Violet and Arceus or Legends 2, that they take the necessary steps to make it a really enjoyable game and not just a passable open world Pokemon game. No offense. No offense.
Pokemon's like, oh, okay, she said no offense, so let's just
you can't take offense, Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the internet works.
Yeah,
says no one. Daniel, did you play Legends?
I have not played a Pokemon game since Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow. It's my Pokemon game. I've not. I wasn't even involved with Pokemon Go. Like everybody, and I'm always playing that. And, it's just never been my thing.
What game were you playing at the time instead of Gold?
Instead of Pokemon Go, I don't know.
I thought you said Gold. I'm like, is that a game?
It's probably
it was
Platinum, right? And there must be a Gold in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a color, so yeah, it's Pokemon.
But I'm super out of the loop, so I might sound a bit naive here. Is most of the Pokemon games just a remake of Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow? Like, are they all essentially the same game with the same towns going, up-res versions of the same thing? Like, when
Noah could answer it more. Essentially, yes, but they all kind of have their own
same game.
Yeah, mechanics, Pokemon. Like, yeah, Noah.
Right, that seems mad, but okay.
So that's why this one was
just made the same game for 20 years and up-res the graphics.
Yeah.
Sure, Nintendo. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I did like that Arceus was going in a different direction, but it really just felt like a beta test or something. Like, do people like this? Let's see.
Well, there you have it, Pokemon. She's not mad. So no offense, but she's
no
just
offense.
disappointed.
Yeah.
Daniel, we heard your scathing review of Fallout 76. I'm dying what you wrote about your number one.
So I'm between a few contenders here, but I think it would be remiss not to talk about Cyberpunk. As a recent example, so this is a bias, and again, I feel like I picked two really obvious games, Fallout 76 and Cyberpunk. But right, so let's actually compare CD Projekt Red and Bethesda, because in 2015, when Fallout 76 came out, The Witcher 3 came out. So everyone had this, including myself, everyone had this idea in their head that Bethesda, they had their day. They had Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout 3. Their best was behind them. But the hot, sexy company now making attractive open world games, the CD Projekt Red, they can't do any wrong, right? Wrong. They've made Cyberpunk. Not only that, they hyped up for 5 years and it was in development for about 25 years, and then they put Keanu in it and it was still shit. So where did it all go wrong? Do you know what I mean? I still don't understand where it all went wrong. No, actually I do, because I've heard some employees come out and say things like they thought they still had like an extra year or two in development, and then they were told no, get it out in 2020. And anyway, that's a whole rabbit hole. But yeah, what a disappointing game. I mean, we can go over everything from the fact that how do you manage to take one of Hollywood's most likable actors and make him an insufferable dick that you're just like, go away? Like, how do you manage to do that with Keanu Reeves? It's impressive. It's like you can't go wrong, and yet they've managed to make him a total douchebag like the whole game. I hated that character. Then you had those. I mean, the whole game. Cyberpunk's one of the things. I guess it's partly self-inflicted. It's partly my own fault. One of the experiences where it gets so hyped up, and you get this idea in your head of what it's going to be, and then when you finally get it and you play it and you finish it, you think you still feel like you're waiting for that thing that you were promised 2 years ago. know what I mean? And I still feel like I've yet to play that game where the trailer where Keanu walks across the scrapyard and is wake the hell up samurai. Like, I'm still waiting to play that game. That wasn't what we got. We got I don't know what it was. It was a mess. I mean, to be fair, it's been about 6 months since I played it, so I know there's been patches. I don't know what state the game's in now, but I did make a point. I did also write a review for Cyberpunk on an old website that I works for, and I did make a point of giving it 6 months. The reason being, I didn't get it on launch. I got it the Christmas after launch, so it came out in November or something. I got it in January, really, and played it. And then I thought, do you know what? Patches, all the rest of it, we'll give it 6 months. And it was still a buggy mess. We can talk about the fact that it didn't play really at all on the older consoles, on PS4 and Xbox One. There's so much wrong with it, and there's still so much wrong with it, and it still feels hollow. It still feels empty. It still feels like a shell of a game. The fact, I think I actually mentioned this somewhere in my review. The idea that Keanu isn't actually there and he's just in your head, or he's like a ghost or whatever the hell the dumb plot twist is. That is kind of a representation of this game. It's like it was never really there. It's just this annoying thing that lives in your head, and you're like, oh, when am I actually going to get to experience the real thing? Yeah, so disappointing, because I quite like the world. I don't hate the aesthetic. Some of it's a bit headachy. I found some of it a bit flashy and especially when your character was having those relic malfunctions when they were passing out, just super migraine inducing. But yeah. What disappointment. I don't know. Again, it's one of the things that it's so obvious and there's been so much said about it. It's hard to really come up with more things to say. We spoke earlier about F-bombs and swearing. Cyberpunk is an R-rated game, and I did expect quite a sort of adult story based on The Witcher and based on things like that. The script felt like it was written by a 15-year-old, trying to be edgy and trying to throw, like, even the F-bombs in the dialogue don't feel natural. It all feels so forced and janky and thrown together. Is there anything else I haven't shit on yet? I don't know, but I just so disappointed.
I agree with absolutely everything you said, and yet I still kind of enjoyed Cyberpunk. Not to be dramatic, but it was a little bit unforgivable that they lied about the old generation versions. Like, they had a whole Cyberpunk Direct or whatever the hell it was called, showcasing them, and then it came out and it was pretty much unplayable. Like, the fact that PlayStation pulled it from their stores was like, you cannot play it on PlayStation. That's really bad for CD Projekt Red coming off of Witcher 3, one of the most beloved games of all time at this point, for that to happen. You're right.
You even have a poster of that, if I'm not wrong.
I do see it in
the background. If you're listening to the podcast, I believe there's Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Last of Us, The Witcher, and Funko Pops looking right at me.
They are indeed. Squirtle is looking into your soul.
Jessica, I was going to tell you earlier, your magic stars are sitting right in the sun. It was really bothering me earlier.
Oh, no!
They will be liquids.
There's one lint chocolate there as well. Oh, dear. Much like Cyberpunk, what a disappointment.
Chocolate being left in the sun is a good metaphor for Cyberpunk. I think.
Yeah.
That's it. We got to pull it from the podcast. Just hey, keep in mind, they pulled it so Cyberpunk came out at the beginning of December, holiday buying season. They could have like, hey, here's buy $60, but PlayStation's like, no, we can't do you dirty. And I agree. I don't think that's an over-exaggeration. Like, I know there's already videos of like the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk, but I'm gonna be very curious of like, let's give it like 2 or 3 years. Like the treatment of No Man's Sky, like very disappointing game in the beginning, but with all the patches and work and additional content, like people actually regard it as like a good game. And behind the scenes of that, I want to see what happens with Cyberpunk.
So that's something as well that I think, I can't find it now, but I think I mentioned it in my review. That's something that did kind of piss me off at the time, was the comparison with this and No Man's Sky. So many people were comparing the two titles and saying, give it time, blah, blah, blah. They are not the same thing, in my opinion. No Man's Sky was developed by a small team of people. It was an indie game on the world stage. And in my opinion, we should have given that more of an opportunity to become what it became, rather than what we did to it. I'm saying us as if it was us personally. The gaming press, what the gaming press.
Don't involve me, Dan. I was an innocent boy at that time of 2015. 14? I was innocent.
But see, Cyberpunk, I think they did kind of they carried their own cross. You know, they made their own bed. The hype that they put behind it, the marketing, the appearances at E3, bringing Keanu out at E3. I know they've got to sell a game at the end of the day, but you know, there was so much promise. This is a massive team of people coming off of, as Jessica said, one of the most successful games of the last 20 years. You know, and this is what they give us. It was just it felt like a slap in the face because of that. It felt like an insult.
Exactly. I mean, now you think about it, the best part about Cyberpunk is the Keanu Reeves meme. You're breathtaking.
Yeah.
And
that has longevity.
That has longevity. Won't. That is full price, $60 meme right there. You're not going to see that for. I bought it for $20. Around Black Friday. I played a little, and I'm like, I was like, I want to play Demon Souls.
I was thinking about how you could save Cyberpunk at this point. See if you could take the fact that the presentation in the game is really loud and ugly and somehow spin that into a metaphor to reflect the social commentary, because obviously there is anti-capitalism sort of metaphors through this game and a sort of Philip K. Dick style. See if they kind of said that that's why this game looks awful and is garish and hard to look at. It's because it's a metaphor for modern society. I think that could, maybe you could have
CD Projekt Red spin doctor right here. Like, oh no, you're just not looking deep enough into the theme.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just it's a very expectation. There's an extra layer that you're not seeing. But
No, PlayStation, don't pull us. It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. We're making a statement. We're cultured. That's the C in CD.
Mm-hmm.
I should have
I'm
been
actually.
a PR guy.
You know what? Did you play it? You love Bethesda open world stuff. Did you ever pick up Cyberpunk?
I did not. I thought about it several times, but you know what I realized? That the name Cyberpunk is a play on steampunk. I realized that. I was like, oh, it's like steampunk. Okay.
I thought you were going to say, like, oh, it's called Cyberpunk because they punked us.
The clevers are all along.
You couldn't see it coming.
It's weird that the game is just named after a genre. It would be like bringing out a shooter game that's just called FPS. You know, like, what?
FPS 2022.
Yeah, it's strange.
Guys, don't give the gaming industry any ideas. It's like, come on, guys, FPS. I'm surprised there isn't a game just called Platformer.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one? Do you remember it was called MAG? Massive
action game.
Yeah, massive action game that existed.
Yeah, that get through loads of PR meetings. That's insane.
Exactly.
That made it to the actual print press.
Yeah, Mark was there like, come on, Mag.
I guess you've got medieval as well. Medieval sort of a genre. I guess you could spin that one.
Well,
but,
yeah.
But it's not as blatant as Cyberpunk. Like, you know, it's just a bit on the nose.
Good choice, Daniel. So it's funny how you mentioned Bethesda getting the shaft on this podcast. Ubisoft, I like you. I love you. I defend you when others trash you, like Jessica, right there. Oh, I did it. Yay, go me. But I'm sorry, Assassin's Creed Unity it's an okay game, but man, you botched that one up, buddy. Again, I'm not mad. Have a seat. So keep in mind, I forget which game you guys were talking about.
Watch Dogs?
Oh, Jessica, yeah, Legion. Granted, so that was PlayStation 4 and 5 compatible.
Mm-hmm.
With Assassin's Creed Unity, if you guys remember, this was so they had 2 Assassin's Creed games come out on the same day, which is still crazy. They had Rogue on the old gen, 360, PlayStation 3, and the current gen, or I guess the new upcoming gen, would be Unity. So naturally, you would want to buy Unity solely to play that. So I want you to keep that in mind. You had to buy a new system to play this. It was a launch title.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft's like, all right, So we had to put all of our effort. Nah. And it really is infamous. I didn't play it like day one. I got my Xbox One Christmas time, so they did have like patches to fix. But you just search up video game bugs, not even just Assassin's Creed, and that still pops up. Yikes. And it's a beautiful game in terms of like France is gorgeous. The crowds, it's dense, it feels alive. I remember when Notre Dame burned or partially burned. I forget. I'm not that cultured, guys. I play Assassin's Creed to get my French history.
Mark's not up to speed on his fires.
And Marie Antoinette, great movie. Kristen Dunst, Sophia Coppola, directed one of my favorite movies of all time. My favorite, Lost in Translation, but we won't get into that until next week. Guys, come on. Lost in Translation review podcast. It's what the audience wants. Anyway, so
it's topical.
It's topical. Like exactly. It's coming up on its like 17th and a half. 19 and a half anniversary. What is a disappointment? My answer. You guys aren't mad at me. You're just disappointed. Anyway, so Notre Dame, like I remember like a lot of people revisited Notre Dame and it's breathtaking, as Keanu Reeves once said. But the main character, like none of the characters are memorable. The enemy, not memorable. The missions, they're not memorable. Besides the setting and some of the graphics, like eventually when they did patch it up, that's memorable. But unfortunately, what's also memorable is the problems, the patches. And it's like, you had to buy this game on a new console, and this is what you got? Sony. Why did I say Sony? Oh.
It's your fault,
Ubisoft. Sony, I'm not mad nor disappointed. Good job, kiddo. Yeah. Can't wait for Spider-Man 2. Actually, I can't. Actually, I'm a little scared because as we established at the beginning of the podcast, any good news means bad news in my personal life.
You're waiting for the next disappointing game. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, guess what? We have a new patch of Cyberpunk that's going to replace the cars. I'm like, all right, Chicha, you got another year to live. Let's go.
With Unity, I agree. But I did enjoy they introduced the investigation side missions. Do you remember them in Unity?
A little bit, but I felt they did a lot better in Syndicate.
I never played Syndicate actually.
I really want to visit Syndicate, but I'm kind of waiting, even though I said like it's a disappointment. I would buy Unity and Syndicate for the Switch.
Yeah, be a good,
why not?
Good, yeah, to go back to on them. Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for Ubisoft. Did I use that right, fellow kids? Dimp, Noah, am I cool now?
I wouldn't know. I've never been cool.
Oh, that's not true, Noah. Listen to that voice.
Yeah, you can't be like, guys, I'm such a loser. I thought you were going to be like, sorry, Mark, I got to mute. There's another plane.
So a couple of years ago, again, when I worked for another website, I got to interview Paul Amos, who played Jacob Fry in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And really nice guy, and we were chatting away, and he was saying that when he went for the audition and he was meeting with Ubisoft and they were going through everything he would have to do with mocap and blah blah blah, someone did say to him, a producer did say to him, are you comfortable with the fact that this could get panned? Because apparently the actors, I think, in Unity were going through a bit of a bad time in their careers off of the back of it. Because of how well the game was received and things like that. It was a part of affecting their CVs and stuff, their jobs going forward. And they were like, we just want to make you aware there might be a risk of that here. And he was like, well, it's a chance to be in a game, so I'm just going to go for it. But it was interesting that somebody from Ubisoft apparently brought that up to him in a meeting. I found that quite fascinating. I was like, wow, they must have really been feeling the sting, after Syndicate, after Unity. They must have really still been feeling that sting in the production of Syndicate. And because of how quick their turnaround is, I suppose as well, it would have been recent, super recent. So, yeah.
And I know people like to credit like Syndicate. Like, no, I feel like Unity was the beginning of that problem, and I think Syndicate and sales just did okay, but not to the level where Ubisoft started, where they did like, all right, let's scrap. I don't want to say scrap everything, but it's like we really got to revamp this. We got to take a year. And keep in mind, at that point, they came out year to year. Again, they had 2 separate games come out the same day. And Assassin's Creed Rogue is a fun, great game. It's on the Switch. It's on current gens. Buy it. Really good stuff. But Unity, if you want to pay tribute to Notre Dame.
Unity was the point that the series lost me. I've not played an Assassin's Creed game since Unity, and it wasn't a definitive decision. It was just I picked up the game. I loved Assassin's Creed games. The second one's one of my favourite games ever.
It's the same.
I've always kind of followed. Thank you. I've always kind of followed the series by Ezio and Altair and blah blah blah. And then when we got to the Unity, it just, I don't know. It just didn't feel. It felt like something was off. It felt like something must have been off with the development, or somebody was rushed somewhere. Just something didn't feel right. And then Syndicate came out, and I didn't play Syndicate until I was getting ready to interview Paul Amos. I thought, shit, I better play that game if we're going to talk about it. So yeah, and then I did pick up Origins when it came out, and I think I played about an hour of Origins, and then I was like, I'll put this off and go back to it, and that was however many years ago, and I've never went back to it. Still sitting on my shelf. So yeah, it's interesting looking back now as a fan of the series formerly that Unity really was the point that kind of soured me going forward. It wasn't like I am never playing Assassin's Creed game again. It just kind of naturally happened that way. It's interesting.
Yeah, again, because we're not mad, we're just disappointed. I hope I don't give anyone like, I hope I don't like trigger any like trauma and like, oh my god, they're not mad, they're just disappointment.
Yeah, all these horrible childhood memories coming back.
Parent-teacher conference. And if it was like your review of 76, Daniel, a parent-teacher conference, what the hell did that kid do?
Listen, whatever they did, they could have, I don't know, they could have done something horrific. It still wouldn't have been as bad as what Fallout 76 did to my soul. So
that's not like a conference. That's like a conference to see this kid expelled. But that is our list of most disappointing games. Did you guys have any honorable mentions? I don't. That was the only 2 that came up. Like, I could make a case for some, but I'm like, I'm not that passionate.
Yeah, you mentioned Watch Dogs, which was mine. So
yeah, Noah.
Yeah, I'll mention the modern Call of Duty and Halo games. Just don't live up to. I'd say Call of Duty peaked just after Black Ops 2 for me, and Halo after Reach. Like I wouldn't say I'm disappointed in Halo Infinite, and of course the Master Chief Collection. Yes, love this, but yeah, they just don't live up to the old ones for me. And also Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. They're just pointless remakes. Like, just play Platinum.
Daniel, what about you?
The other ones I was between, I had Aliens, Colonial Marines, which Gearbox.
Yeah.
There. Duke Nukem Forever. I mean, Duke Nukem Forever, but there's obviously a bit of backstory there. Resident Evil 3, which I didn't hate, but just after the Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 was, I'm talking about the remake specifically, it just felt a bit hollow. And the other one was Marvel's Avengers, which was just off the back of the Spider-Man success, was just horrific. Horrible.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this podcast. It was fun. Crazy.
Trivia?
I mean, if you want, I'm gonna lose, but
well,
it wasn't on the doc, so
I added it to the doc. Mark O'Callaghan. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Nice.
In fact, it's all in caps. It says trivia question, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation
where
mark.
I can confirm that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, guys, you can't see this, but she just added it. I see her typing. I see the VIA. Oh my god, guys. She is gaslighting me. If I'm using that word correctly, I think I am.
If I'm using that word correctly, fellow kids.
Yeah, I know slang. That can't even call slang. Simp, gaslight is a whole different issue. Anyway, my bad, Jessica. I think that wraps up our podcast. Now on to trivia. Nice save from the backcourt. Boom. Like Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
It's not his position, but okay.
I don't.
So Dan, I haven't done this very often because sometimes we only had 2 people on. So Mark has a point and Noah has a point. So it's all to play for here. Okay.
I have no idea what this is going to involve, so I'm ready.
Just a little question. No riddles this time.
I didn't know until she added it last minute on the Google Doc.
Well,
Is
anyway.
it first person to buzz in, or are we all get a question each?
No, yes, sorry. You'll all get to go to answer it. So
we basically like convene on the answer, like we talk it out. It's like
well, yeah, you
Family
can talk it out, but I'll take a different answer from all of you.
Okay, I'm like, oh, it's like Family Feud.
Nah.
I'm like, do you guys know Family Feud, right?
Yeah.
Family Fortunes, it's called over here.
Yeah.
Same
Fun
show.
fact: my dad's family was on Family Feud.
Oh wow.
And I think my Uncle Frank still gave the best answer. And the question was, okay, Frank, we got 2 X's. We got top 5 answers on the board. Name something you would do if your child was getting bullied. And this is like the desperate, like the bottom list. And he's like, okay, I don't condone this, but I would pay another kid to beat up the bully. Again, and he's like, again, I don't condone this, but I
did that make it to broadcast? Did they
yeah,
edit that out?
that
made it. Wow.
Oh god.
YouTube. This is back in the early 90s, and who's the host? Like Ray Combs. He's like, and the whole thing, it's like, hey, these guys are from Staten Island, New York City. And it's like, oh, so this is how you guys doing on the city. Show me, pay another kid to beat up the bully. And went back to the Lopez family. Well,
that's incredible.
I
That is
always
a
had
great
to share
answer.
that. It is.
Yeah.
And it should have been on the board. They didn't survey people from Staten Island. That's why.
Yeah.
That would be number 1. Okay, sorry, Jessica.
Yeah. Okay.
What is the question?
A trivia question. In tribute to all these remasters and remakes announcements we've been getting and rumors, it is, which game has never received a remaster or remake, either individually or part of the collection, and this doesn't include ports? So just a remaster or remake.
Any game that doesn't meet that criteria?
Yeah, I'll give you some options, and you have to try and pick which one has never received a remaster or remake. Sorry, yeah. So A, Ratchet and Clank. B, Kirby Canvas Curse. It was also called Kirby Power Paintbrush over here in the UK. Or C, Silent Hill 3. Or D, Age of Empires. So which one of these has never received a remaster or remake? Mark O'Callaghan, I will go to you first.
It's definitely not A. I have played the 2016 remake. We talked about that on the podcast.
I don't know.
So you weren't paying attention during that podcast? Wow. You heard it here first, guys. But B, C, and D. Oh no. I think it could be Nintendo likes to remake stuff. Silent Hill 3. And then there's D. I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm just gonna go Silent Hill 3.
Cool.
I don't think it is, but
I'll go to Noah next. Noah, which game has never received a remaster or remake? Ratchet and Clank, Kirby Canvas Curse / Kirby Power Paintbrush, Silent Hill 3, or Age of Empires?
I'm leaning on for C. Mark was pretty sure it's not A, so I'm glad he went first.
Yeah, you kind of played your cards there, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is Family Feud. Good answer, Noah. Good answer.
No, not Family Feud.
God. So I'm gonna go. Mark said C, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to go B because that would be my chance to pass him with the points.
Oh, plan tactically.
Bad answer. Bad answer. Bad answer.
All right, Dan, what do you think?
So I'm between B and C. I'm ruling out A and D. I can't for the life of him. I know that there was a Silent Hill remaster on PS3. I can't remember if it was the first 2 games or the first 3 games. Could it have been a Silent Hill trilogy? Yes, it could have been. But the first 2 are the kind of iconic 2, so I've got a feeling it was just those 2 that were re-uprest. I have no idea about Kirby. I no clue about that. So it's more process elimination. So that I'm between those 2. So now I'm wondering, do I just go with either Mark or Noah, because that's the activist.
Yeah.
Choose between those 2. Who seems more knowledgeable?
Daniel, this answer will affect if you come back next week.
Yeah, if Daniel's suddenly not here.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go with Kirby. It's like, all right, we're back to the 3.
It suddenly became something else. This section of this podcast. Oh God, did that Silent Hill remaster have that 3rd game on there? I'm going to go Silent Hill 3 because I'm not qualified enough to say whether Kirby has or hasn't.
So, Mark, you've went Silent Hill 3. Dan, you've went Silent Hill 3. Noah, your Kirby Canvas Curse.
Well, now I'm kind of nervous, but I have to stick with it.
Well,
There
you
is-
didn't join me.
There's
Noah
a correct
seems really
answer in
talented.
here. There's a correct answer in here, and it goes to Noah for Kirby Canvas Curse.
Yes.
Dan,
That threat worked there for Mark. I was like, I want to come back to this podcast, man. I better side with him.
Bad
The
news, Daniel.
remasters-
You lost. The good news is you're going to be on next week's podcast. It's like a consolation prize. It's
Swings
like,
and roundabouts.
Yeah.
exactly.
So 2 and 3 were on the HD remaster, which I thought might trip you up if I put 3 in instead of 2. Yeah. Kirby Canvas Curse was ported onto the Wii U and it got a sequel, but never a remaster or a remake. So that is
Wow.
Noah on 2 points, Mark on 1. Sorry, Daniel, you're still on 0.
Always go with your
Woohoo.
gut. That's the moral of the story, I think.
Yeah.
Now,
And it worked.
and now Mark's not going to keep not having me, so I can't earn more points.
Yeah. Noah suddenly disappeared from the podcast.
You were so lucky. Your sultry, smooth voice. It's like, I'm the winner. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you are. If you had like my voice, like I'm the winner, I'll be like, this guy. Just X him out of here. It's like, all right, just the 3 of us. All right. So I'm gonna look in the Google Doc if we have anything else. I don't want it to be tripped up last minute. All right. I think we're good. I'm looking at Jessica. Okay, nope, we're good. All right. This officially ends this week's KeenGamer podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check us out on Spotify. Give us that 5 stars. It bumps us up in the chart. Check out KeenGamer.com. We got lots of good articles. I mean, Daniel wrote the news article about Star Wars, so thanks, Daniel, for that one.
Yep.
I'm actually writing a Severance review article. You guys got to watch Severance. If you have Apple TV Plus, you have to buy Apple TV Plus solely for this show. And I mean, also Ted Lasso, but do it. Jessica, where can people find you?
You can find me at ResiJessie on Twitter, and I have an April biggest upcoming horror movies coming out article up, and I'll have one up for May as well if people are interested in that on KeenGamer.com.
Sweet. Noah, what about you?
You guys can find my YouTube channel. If you just search The Black Rose, add the word Bethesda, it will come up. The event I'm running right now is I promised when I hit 50 subscribers, I will tell you who I think the mother or mothers of Jarl Balgruuf's children is.
2 things. 1, there will be a Fortnite ad for your YouTube channel. And 2, I thought you were going to go like Jerry Springer on us. Like, who is the mother? I couldn't think of the other guy. Who's the other guy?
Oh, there's so many.
I know, but it's like you're not the father, that kind of show.
Isn't that Jerry
God.
Springer?
Oh, it was
that's
another
Springer.
one. Yet again, I don't care. Why am I even talking about this? I'm sorry. Daniel, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at danboyd95. This week on KeenGamer, I've thrown out a few opinion pieces. One about the inevitable war of acquisitions, which is very me waving the end is coming flag. And another piece that was kind of companion to that. And the week I wasn't here last week, I don't know if you guys talked about Blizzard buying consuming Vicarious Visions officially. So based on that news, which I think I actually also reported on, based on that, I did an article about how game studios being owned by these big corporations can hurt creativity within the gaming industry. And I'm also working just now on an article about Hello Games' next project, because we were talking today about Disappointing Games. No one mentioned No Man's Sky, which was interesting. Well, no, I think it did get mentioned in passing in comparison with Cyberpunk. But yes, whatever comes from Hello Games is going to be interesting. But yeah, just a wee kind of speculative article about overhyping your game and the dangers of that. I'll hopefully have that out this week. And you can also find me, I'm going to record another podcast after this called the Pop Shop Podcast. So that episode again, that'll be out sometime this coming week.
Awesome. And the answer was Maury. I was thinking of Maury.
Oh, yes. Right. Thanks.
Right,
The important
sure.
stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the important. It's like, where can you find me? It's like on the Maury Show. Am I the father? I don't know, but we'll find out.
Tune in to find out. Yeah.
Check us out Tuesday at noon Eastern Standard Time.
Check out if Mark's the father.
On channel 875.
If I'm the father, Jessica, can you just edit that whole part out?
Sure.
No, you can find me at Twitter at LilMarco512. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. Great podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm Marco Callahan. Hope you have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.